Hey guys, my name's Doombabe, and today I want to go over a topic that is nothing short of a war zone of a topic to discuss, and that is net decking. Now, the topic itself doesn't necessarily bother me, it's the reaction that the topics get. Because a lot of the time, it just turns into this, it explodes into this almost violent argument over the internet. And all people do is they yell back and forth at each other, they break out the caps lock, they freak the fuck out, and no one ever gets anywhere, and I usually have to end up locking the thread. But say you're new to the game, you don't necessarily know what net decking is, or you just haven't ever really been around much of a play group. Other than, of course, your friends of filthy casuals at your kitchen table. Netdecking is when you go online to websites such as Star City Games or TCG Player, or even some of the Wizards articles, and you copy the decks almost usually card for card instead of making your own. Now, a lot of people, they get upset because they feel like it takes away from the fun of the game. But what you think is fun might not really be my fun. And that's something that a lot of people don't particularly like to think about. See, not everyone plays Magic for the same reasons. I mean, of course we play it because it's fun, but some people play it because it's a creativity outlet. It allows them to take a slew of cards that are at their disposal, put something together, and make something that's totally their own. And for some other people, people just sometimes are not good at deck building, such as myself. I suck at deck building. It's not really so much that I suck at deck building, I can't get into it. I get frustrated, I think of too many cards I want to put in the deck, and it usually comes out to like 100 card deck, and it doesn't go over well. Now, I can understand why people go online and they copy decks. I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. These are decks that have been put through a ton of testing. They've been built, taken apart, rebuilt, taken apart again, rebuilt, and then in between all of those, they're being piloted, they're being taken to events, and it's somewhat of a grueling process to make a top tier deck. So when people go online, they know that this is a deck that has been put together a million bajillion times until it is perfect, and it has been play tested and proven to be efficient. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I do not have that kind of patience to go and keep making brand new decks all the time. Usually I just get frustrated and I stop playing, and that's really why I only go to pre-releases anymore. And then that sort of brings in the, okay, is it really net decking if you look at a list online and then change it? And some people say yes, some people say no, but overall, you know, the biggest issue that people seem to have is that they're just tired of playing the same decks. And that is something I can feel. I can understand that. People usually take the top 4 decks, they put it together, then they go to F&M. And say 10 other people did the exact same thing. It makes for F&M to be very, I guess, boring, very stale. And then over time, Standard itself becomes very stale. There was actually an F&M back when Innistrad and RTR were in cycle together, and I played against the same mono black deck over and over and over again. I played it 4 times in a row, and it was the most infuriating thing ever. Not because I lost, but because I was just bored. It made me just want to leave. I didn't want to play anymore because I didn't want to play against the same turn 1, turn 2, like the same game over and over and over again. I became exasperated with the entire situation. So I understand that some players, they don't get mad because they lost, but because they're just tired of seeing the same thing over and over again. And that's why I will always encourage people to be creative and to make their own decks, as long as they understand that not everyone is creative, that not everyone can make their own decks or has the time or the patience to make their own deck. Because if you are original, if you do create your own decks, you know that it's not just you throw everything together and boom, it's ready to go. It's a process. And some people say, oh, it's lazy, like a real Magic player would make their own deck. And it's like, okay, so maybe it is lazy. I mean, but really, can you blame people? If you were bad at building decks, if you were horrible at building decks, would you want to keep playing a game and losing every single week? Would you want to just keep losing over and over and over again just because you didn't want to be ridiculed for being a netdecker?
It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me why people get so upset over it, because if you think about it, it's no different than going to a bookstore and buying your own, like buying a book. Or it's no different than going to a GameStop and buying a game. Or, you know, why even play Magic? Just go make your own card game. See, it doesn't make sense when you really think about it. Because you're getting upset at someone for not making something from scratch when you yourself, you do not do that every day. You do not make your own card. You do not make your own games. You don't make your own TV shows. You are enjoying someone else's creation, and that is what people who net deck do. And really, thinking about it, net decking, it's really just like a slur. I mean, I don't have any other word for it. Like, people who go online and use other people's deck, like, that's a huge mouthful, so I'm going to keep saying net decking. But the word itself is more of a slur that people like to use, and they use it only usually when they're angry. And it's sort of like, it's only a concept, or it's only an argument that ever comes up when someone loses to a top-tier deck. And instead of getting frustrated over losing to a top-tier deck, why not think of, okay, what did I do wrong? What did I not have that would have helped me against this deck? And then that way you can use that to improve your own. And then you can create a top-tier deck, and then you can say, oh, look, I'm the greatest deck builder ever. Don't do that. That'll make you a dick. But you get what I'm trying to say.
And something else to take in mind is, of course, the market for Magic. If there is no such thing as the interwebs where people were posting all of their like top-tier decks that are winning all these big events, then there wouldn't be these incredibly expensive cards. All these other cards that are heavily used in all of these formats, they're expensive because they're used and because they're in these top decks. Without the top decks, you're not going to have very expensive cards. Foil Treasure Cruise would not be like a billion, I don't know how much it is, but I know it's ridiculously expensive for a comic. So when you go to sell, you know, your playset of foil Elish Norns at like $500, thank Netdeckers for that. You can thank Star City and TCG Player and all these sites that post deck lists, because without these deck lists you would not have very expensive cards. So this wasn't really supposed to be an educational video. It wasn't supposed to be like me trying to help people. It's mostly I am every time someone brings it up, I just
It flames on the side of my face.
Because everyone just fights and they don't really want to see each other's side. So that's it. I guess I'll go now. People in my group, if you're watching this, please stop yelling at each other. It's very frustrating to watch. Peace.